People simply, at a certain point, get an idea that they need to do something better because what's happening in their life right now is not working. And it's usually because something is awry. Something they just can't get figured out. At this moment, I want to thank you for taking the quality time out of your life to explore Camber Hill coaching. It's amazing how people can allow themselves to remain stuck for so long. As soon as you get into my space, good things start to happen. So Chill, of course, is based off of my name, so Camber Hill. My service is very useful in cutting through all the commotion that is in your head and in your heart. And we turn it around and go, what am I doing that's the cause of so much of this ruckus? And then slowly, people begin to win by the suggestions that I offer as we begin to cut through the clatter and get to the core issues and smooth things out and put you back into the pilot seat instead of the co-pilot of chaos. So when I started in like 1983, I had some very powerful mentors, and I was a young entrepreneur when suddenly people began to seek my advice, helping them to hash out some of their issues in their personal life and in their business relationships. And that's what started the engines rolling. So all of these top-notch performers had coaches. Someone grabbed a hold of that concept and said, why are we calling people consultants in the business world? Why don't we have a name? Why don't we have a suit or a suite of ways to address the corporate or professional person in order to hit their best game? So initially, from the 80s and 90s, I got called a consultant, or I got called a spiritual advisor. I mean, people made up stuff because there wasn't a concept in the marketplace for it. So once coach hit, there suddenly was an ease with it, that people came to me because they had got wind of my capabilities with numerology and using the numbers to actually find out their weaknesses and strengths and see how it applied to their life. But nobody came once. People came year after year, decade after decade, as they progressed through their lives. That took coaching. That's a relationship that is ongoing to keep your game really sharp. So that's how Chill came about, was to really wrap that model around the coaching and the dynamics of top performers. When you have decades on top of you, right? All these emotions and all these premature cognitive decisions about how things are supposed to work, who you are in your life, it gets very convoluted. Most of us are gyrating between reacting to stuff, always gyrating to things that are reacting. Reacting to who's calling us, the kids getting up too early or too late, getting them up, reacting to our bosses, reacting to our wife, reacting to the lawn blowers outside of our house on a Sunday morning. You might feel like a mess inside. When you come into my space, you're going to get called out on it, and that can make you a little uptight initially. So people are very nervous about letting down all their faces, all their armor that they have so practiced at using and keeping up in front of them to protect them. But once you get into my space, the more real and sincere you can be with your own feelings, no matter how messed up they are. So how I help people manage better is I helped them to let go of most of the extenuating circumstances and focus on them being the conduit of all the stuff happening. So a lot of the ordinary human conditions that come into play in our daily lives that can become a mountain of frustration takes a new way of learning. It takes the art of communication, the art of compassion, and the art of being interested in everybody winning. You know, one of the things about my work is the splintered soul, where people get bruised and harmed throughout life. And every one of us, when you get here to this beautiful small green planet, you're here completely on trust. You have to trust somebody's going to feed you, someone's going to love you, someone's going to care for you. Sooner or later, you're going to fall down. And all of those situations have a very, very damaging component to your overall self. And then when life starts happening, you start to splinter from your soul. Maybe your parent says, you know, you're no good for nothing. Or a teacher says, you know, you're not as bright as the rest of the class. Or I wish you were prettier. But once you get the hang of it, it changes your relationships. So a lot of what people get when they walk away is a different model of communication art that didn't quite exist the same way before. The tools that I work with and that I teach deal with the whole person. So initially people really saw themselves as, this is who I am in my personal life, and this is who I am in my professional life. This is how I work on the golf course. This is how I am in the classroom. This is how I am with my children. I mean, how do you keep up with all those identities? But what I want to stress is that you're one person, and being to integrate all of your subcategory personalities into one authentic being is really quite a magnificent feat. And it takes time and practicing at being comfortable with who you are. So once you really master the authenticity of your spirit, of your personality, of the place, your sweet spot, where you're most dynamic, and then anchor yourself there and function from that place in both your personal life and your professional life, you really have a winning situation. You really see happy, loving, excited, inspired people. And in doing so, all kinds of fresh ideas pop up. And once you turn it around and you start utilizing it, everything begins to bloom. When you take hard times, you take hardships and you turn them into wisdom. That's the most exciting point in the day. These are all habit-changing formulas. They're ways to change and shifting it into a more intelligent emotional resource. So it's an entire process. When somebody begins to shift and do things differently, oh, it's amazing that they feel like their life has been restored. And then suddenly, it begins to birth itself into your life. It begins to show up in your job and in your work and in your satisfaction. It begins to show up in your relationships that seem to get a little bit more cozy, more intimate, more rewarding. When my clients wake up to how important it is to have dynamic, loving, real relationships that are gritty and that are fantastic, that will change your life. And that's what they often tell me. Here is somebody who changed my life. So the typical process is that you call me up for a phone consultation. So I can also see you face-to-face, or I can see you on Zoom or strictly on the telephone, whatever is your preference, depending on your location and your busy schedule. So you make that phone call, we talk for 20, 30 minutes, try to really kind of understand what's going on with you, what it is that you have in mind, and whether I'm the right coach for you, or the right numerologist. So it's a way for me to understand what your priorities are right now, what you're looking to do in the future. Now you just go online to camberhill.com. You know that you're totally safe and all the content of any information you give me is completely private. You simply go into the calendar and you are able to pick a calendar date and a time of day that works for you, and you click on it and it's submitted to me. So all of this begins the process of our coaching work. And then when we finally do sit across from each other, it can be fireworks. It can be fantastic discoveries. It's tough sometimes to make that final decision. It's not easy. You have to lean in and take a chance, but do it today. Give yourself permission that you're going to invest in yourself, and let's get working on developing the life and the times that you know are completely possible. But we got to start the ball rolling. Let's start talking about what's going to happen for you and how we're going to get you to the place that you have always wanted to be. And then asking you the important questions, holding you accountable for the changes that are in store that will enable you to take one of the most incredible journeys of your life, to enjoy your life, to enjoy the relationships and the rich contrast with somebody who wants you to become the best you can possibly be based on your natural God-given talents. Those are the things, those are the clues that I'm searching for. So take a moment when you're ready, and we'll start building the most beautiful tomorrow that you can possibly dream of. Reach out and get in contact with me, and let's start discovering a whole new way of life.